What's up, everybody? No intro music needed today. Paul Hickey here. It's the Coach Rodcast, episode 13. My main man, Coach Ricky Rodriguez. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. It's Wednesday already. The hay's in the barn, so to speak. We got a little walk through tomorrow, and then it's game day on Friday.
We're talking Raptors football after the big win against Houston last week at home, 38-7. Tons of great performances to talk about. Femi Babalola, Maverick Chance, Grant Lucas. A lot of great games. And this week's opponent, the Whitehaven Tigers. Coach, I'm going to hand it over to you. But first, I'm just looking at Whitehaven out in Memphis, is where we're traveling. And I see that 3 out of their last 4 games, they've won their last 4, but 3 out of their last 4 games, they've shut out their opponent. 35-0, 42-0, and then 47-0 against Independence last week.
Yeah, they're humming. I do want to circle back to last week's game though. Just super proud of our kids' performance. I know, it was obviously a very highly emotional contest with some of the extracurriculars, that took place. But I was just really impressed with how our kids handled all of the hoopla throughout the week, the revenge factor, all that stuff. And for them to come out and play, arguably some of the best 4 quarters of football that we've put together this year, I was just so proud of them and cutting out all the noise. And I mean, guys contributing in a variety of facets, Carlos Guerra. Was hampered the week before a little bit. Didn't even suit up against Cane Ridge, and for him to come out there and you know put a few PATs through the uprights and bang a field goal through was pretty awesome. And then yeah, like you said, Grant Lucas is starting to come along. I mean, James Nelson had a heck of a game defensively with a couple picks, a forced fumble. I mean, our defense is tenacious, man. I mean, Jalen Pollard, might not show up in the box score, but he had a really good game. And then I think we have found a rhythm offensively, right? Super proud of those big boys up front. We're averaging over 200 yards a game, and to get, right around 300 yards rushing against a really good opponent in Houston last week. We're just we're clicking on, not all cylinders offensively, but as many cylinders as we have humming right now. I think we're clicking on all those. And like we talked about after the game, we kind of enjoy that victory for 24 hours. And then the next morning, by the next morning, our coaching staff had already turned the page to an opponent that's, I mean, we're now in the situation in the season where it's the best 8 teams still alive, obviously, in 6A football. And if you've made it this far, there's a reason why you're standing at this point. And, kind of an old traditional rivalry in the playoffs. There's a lot of history between Whitehaven and Ravenwood. And, talking to some of the former players and Coach Hester, like this is what November football is all about, right? You kind of wait for a Ravenwood Whitehaven matchup, and we're really excited to be able to make the trek out there. Done a lot of research on their band. We've been playing band music throughout practice because they have one of the best bands in the Southeast. I'm just excited for the atmosphere. Back in California, we had a lot of high schools that had tremendous bands, so it's going to kind of maybe be a little bit of a feel for that, like I'm back home type of vibe. And then just, you create those memories when you get to hop on a bus and go do all the things that we're doing. That's what high school football is all about. So another opportunity for our football team to take a bus trip and go and compete with a really quality opponent. And this one, if you don't take care of business, you're collecting equipment on Monday. And if you do take care of business, you're practicing on Thanksgiving, which you talk to any high school football coach, right? And you ask them, hey, what do you what kind of is your benchmark for having a successful season? And I think a lot of them will tell you is if you're practicing on Thanksgiving, you had a pretty good football season. So we got there last year. We're hoping to take care of business on Friday, and I mean we're gonna have our hands full like we have the last couple weeks. So I'm excited for the opportunity.
That's why you do things like the MRA trip at the beginning of the year. That's why you do things like Alcoa last year. I mean, like you talked about last year in the playoffs, there was a trip out to that side of the state, the west side of the state. So it's going to be a great game on Friday against a very, very tough opponent. The Raptors are definitely going to be prepped. Props to everybody for a great game last week. We kind of, I kind of glossed over it, but definitely you mentioned Jalen Pollard and his impact on the defense, and talk about a senior. Wyatt Appleton also had a great game. Matthew
No
Anderson,
doubt.
saying his name all the time. And then of course on the offensive side of the ball, I mean there was some special things happening in addition to guys like Cruz Kelly, Jared Peterson continuing to contribute. We have to talk about the fact that Maverick Chance, we just have to mention it real quick. I know Mav gets all the love in the world, but we have to mention the fact that 13 rushes for 141 yards, 2 touchdowns out of that pistol formation. Hard to stop him, Caden, and Femi out there at the same time. Mav also had like close to an 80-yard run called back on a holding penalty. That would have put him, most likely that would have put him over 200 yards rushing for the game. Just starting to really, really peak as an offensive threat. Went out and high pointed a touchdown catch as well. Just really, really fun football. I'm glad you mentioned Carlos though, because Jack Henderson handling the kickoffs in place of Carlos, not easy shoes to fill. Jack did a great job as well. So just want to give everybody as much love as possible on the Coach Rodcast here, heading into a big, big playoff game out in Memphis against Whitehaven. Coach, anything else you want to add for this quick one here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you brought up Jack too, because that's such an underrated part of football in general, right? Is when you have a weapon back there as a punter who can pin teams, and a field position is such a huge factor in outcomes in games, especially in playoff football time where it's win or go home. So I'm glad that you brought up Jack. He's been phenomenal all year. I'm so proud of him. And then yes, like you said, our guys, our dudes that we have discussed for 14 weeks on this podcast continue to shine in the brightest of lights. And we've been very meticulous in what our plan was for Maverick the entire year offensively, right? We know what he can do at quarterback. We've seen that for 2.5 years now, right? And we've known and started experimenting with stuff in the summertime about him playing multiple positions. And we wanted to wait until November till we really unleashed him. And I mean, did I think that he would perform at the level that he's performing right now? Probably not, but he's just he's unbelievable. I mean, it's crazy the amount of athleticism, football knowledge, toughness. I mean, everything that young man has. We we're just very fortunate to have him and all of his teammates to be a part of this football program, and we want to soak it up as long as we can. And with Whitehaven coming up, I mean, they're going to match us from a talent standpoint, right? They are extremely well coached and disciplined, and we got to go into a hostile environment. So, asking even more of those kids that have 3 years of experience playing at the varsity level and playing in big time atmospheres like this, like we're gonna need the best performance by the Raptors to have a shot on Friday. And obviously, we've had a great week of preparation. But it's rolling the ball out there on Friday night and seeing which team is more prepared, who makes the least amount of mistakes, and special teams is absolutely going to be a factor. So the fact that you brought up Hendo and Carlos, those are things that we have been thinking about as a staff all week. So I'm super excited. Hopefully the Raptor faithful can make the trip down to Memphis. And I hope to have you tag along. We're still trying to figure out the televised piece and the streaming piece, and I think we'll get that figured out for you, Paul. But I'm just so excited and really thankful to our parents, and to our support staff. Like that, this week and this playoff run has been extremely special for all of us. All the things that the dads and the moms do to make this experience worthwhile for these kids. That's what makes this place special. Not every program has that support from the parent level, in the community that we do here at Ravenwood, and you're included in that as well, Paul. So I'm just extremely grateful to everybody, and we're going to try to take care of business on Friday and be able to have all the exciting things that we want to have happen during Thanksgiving week, and have the opportunity to play for a state championship. So I'm fired up. We're ready to go. I wish it was Friday already. Can't wait to board the buses. Come out to Whitehaven and enjoy the show. It's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, if you can make it to Whitehaven, you definitely should support the Raptors. Check out that band, and not just because they're a great band, but like Coach Rod is talking about, they have an impact on the game. So the fact
No
that the
doubt.
Raptors have been practicing with band music, I mean, that's outstanding. Like that is definitely part of the game. If you can't make it to Whitehaven, like Coach Rod said, we are figuring out a broadcast for 7 p.m. at ravenwood.football. So if you're not able to make it out to Memphis, definitely check out ravenwood.football. And I am likely going to be calling the game in one form or another. Dr. Mason and Coach Elrod and I are cooking something up. So stay tuned for that. And thanks again, Coach Rod. Always great to talk to you, man.
Appreciate you, Paul, and look forward to seeing everybody on Friday. G2 Bar, baby.
All right, G2 Bar.